Hello everyone, happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada. And today I am super excited to share with you these 3 cards made with the awesome Arrange a Wreath bundle from the Stampin' Up! Catalog. Now, this bundle is in the new annual that just came out just a little over a month ago, and you'll find it on page 127. Now, there is so much awesomeness in this catalog. It is really easy to miss some of these fantastic bundles, and this is one that can pretty easily get overlooked because it's not part of a product suite. But let me tell you, it is fantastic, and I'm going to show you some projects today, and then I'm going to do some simple stamping on Friday as well to show you some ideas with just the stamp set. But look at how cute the samples are in the catalog. They're so adorable. Now, this bundle is priced at $73.75 Canadian, which right now during the month of July qualifies you for a bonus days coupon, which you can use in August. So let me show you up close and personal what you get in the bundle. So first of all, we have the Arrange a Wreath stamp set. So we have lots of images to decorate your wreath as well as some sentiments. So anytime you get sentiments and images in a stamp set, it is a great value because you get more bang for your buck. Now, not to be outdone is this gorgeous set of dies. Now, as is often the case with Stampin' Up! Die sets, we have dies that cut out stamped images. So these ones down here coordinate with stamped images. And then we have dies that cut shapes. So we have 2 different wreaths. We have several flowers, a little sprig. We have some ribbon and bows that we can create our own paper bows, cute little hearts, and just lots of things that we can add to accent our wreath. So that is the stamp set and stamp set and die set that you get in this bundle. Okay, now let's just pull up our video here on the iPad and see who is watching with me. It's always more fun stamping with friends. So let's see who's joining me today. Who's here? Come on. There we go. Oh, Leith is here. Hi, Debbie. How are you? It's not too bad today, Debbie. It's actually quite nice out. It's supposed to get quite gross again later this week, but yesterday and today were actually quite nice days. So enjoying them while we can before the heat and humidity sets in again. All right, so we are going to make these 3 cards today. I'm going to start with this, and we're going to kind of go through the season. So we're going to start with this sort of springy looking card. I posted this earlier today, and I love the color scheme. I haven't played a lot with the Artistry Blooms designer series paper, and I have to tell you, every time I've only done 2 cards with it, and I love this ombre look to this paper. So this is super simple card, goes together really easily thanks to the dies. So I started with a piece of that DSP, okay, and again it's got the green on one side and the pinks and purples on the other. It's cut to 4 by 4 inches, and then I've embossed it using the subtle embossing folder, which just adds extra texture to that awesome ombre DSP. Now we are going to embellish this little square with a die cut scallop border. Now, you know I'm kind of addicted to this die cut and thankfully it didn't retire with the old catalog. So this is from the Be Mine stitch framelits. It cuts this. Don't worry about this. This is just because I cut a series of them, but it cuts this decorative edge. So the first thing we're going to do is just apply a little bit of adhesive to the back side of our DSP, and then we're going to go ahead and glue the decorative scalloped edge to it. Okay, and you're going to notice this is longer. This is, as I said, was left over from another project. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim off the excess on either side, and we're good to go. All right. Pretty easy, right? Okay, next we are going to layer this on a piece of purple Posy cardstock. Now this color isn't exactly in the DSP, but it is it's kind of there, but not there. So it adds a nice accent. It's a little bit contrasting, but it just adds a really nice soft accent. And honestly, I don't use purple Posy enough. It's going to retire in a year and I barely used it. So this piece is cut to 4 1/8 by 5 3/4. And we're going to go ahead and glue that so that I have an equal border on 3 sides. Okay, so again, we're going to add just a little bit of adhesive. Yay for Stampin' Seal. And we're just going to pop that on so that we have an equal border on 3 sides. Tidings. Oh, we got more people joining us. We got Sue. Hi, Sue. Hi, Louise. Hi, Connie. Hi, Gail. How are you girls doing? Hope you're having a good week. All right, so now we're going to build our wreath. So I have cut from the same DSP. This is that same Artistry Blooms DSP. This is actually the same sheet of DSP. It's another one of the ombre. So there's lighter green at the top. It kind of goes like this. You can kind of see how the colors morph. So it's lighter green at the top and goes to a darker green at the bottom. So I cut both wreaths out of that DSP. I did add some multi-purpose adhesive sheets to the back just to make it easy to glue this on. And actually, you know what? Once I did it, I actually found it easier to do it without the multi-purpose or the adhesive sheets, because when you're peeling the backing off, it really pulls at the die cut. So you have to be really, really gentle with this. When I did my sample, I didn't actually use the adhesive sheets. And then I thought I would be smart the next time I did one of these die cuts, and I actually discovered it's easier to do it without. You just have to be super, super gentle when you're peeling off this backing so that you don't tear your wreath. Okay, so now we have our sort of twig wreath. We're going to just center that on our DSP panel and just press it into place. Okay, and then I have the other wreath, and again, I've got some adhesive sheet on the back. I only had part of the piece covered, so the bottom part will not have any adhesive on it, so we're going to have to add a little bit of liquid glue. So where's the part that doesn't have adhesive? There it is. So we're going to add just a titch of glue to these leaves. Honestly, I would recommend just using liquid glue to glue this guy on. The adhesive sheets are a bit of a pain with these die cuts. With cardstock, it's not quite as bad, but definitely with the DSP, it's quite delicate, so you have to be really super gentle when you're pulling them apart. So I'm going to go ahead and layer this as it's sticking to my finger. Layer it right over top of the previous wreath. And I just love the layering and texture that gives. It just adds nice fullness to the wreath. Isn't that pretty? So, so pretty. Hi, Mary Jane. How are you doing? How are things in Tillsonburg? All right, where did the rest of my little flowers go? They're still in my baggie. Okay, there we go. So I've got some of these little die cut flowers. So these again are from the same set of dies, and I've cut them from some scrap of this same DSP. So I've got different shades from that same DSP. So actually, before I do that, we're going to put our ribbon on, because I need to know where the ribbon's going to go so I know where to put my flowers. So this ribbon is super, super soft. It's from the Playing with Patterns ribbon combo pack. It is really, really, really soft and fine ribbon. Now, when you're tying, you have to be a little bit gentle, because even though it's really fine, it's quite textured and it'll grab. So when you are making your bow and adjusting your loops, you've got to be quite gentle. Otherwise, you'll just pull your whole bow apart. So when you're pulling at your loops like this, you just want to be gentle. The other thing is, this is double-sided ribbon, so it's printed on one side and plain on the other. So you want to make sure that you are adjusting that one tail to make sure that you've got the color on both sides. You see how that's white on one side? This tail is white. So we're going to flip that. So I'm just going to give it a little twist and hope that it stays. It won't stay because I got to adjust my loops again. There we go. Okay. Fix our bow. There, cute little bow. All right, so I'm going to notch the tails. Anytime I have slightly wider ribbon, I like to notch the tails. It just, I don't know, adds a little something. And now this ribbon does not fray too badly. Often notching the tails will help with fraying. This one isn't too bad for fraying. So we're gonna just add a glue dot and just adhere it just at the top of our wreath. Grab a glue dot here. So we're gonna press that there and just adhere that to the top of our wreath like that. Okay, that tail's a little bit long. Gonna shorten it just a little bit too much. There we go. That's better. All right, pretty bow, Now we're going to go ahead and add our flowers. Now for these guys, I'm actually going to use some mini dimensionals. These larger flowers, you could use 2. So I'm going to put 1, 2 on each flower. I'm not really worried about seeing them through the hole in the center because we're going to add an embellishment to cover up that hole in a second anyway. And then for the little guys, we're just going to add a single mini in the center of each one. And then we'll get rid of our backings. And hey, Donna, how's it going? Long time no see. So we're going to add 1 there, and we'll add another big guy over here. And I love the way, by using the DSP to cut the flowers, they totally coordinate with the background, right? And you get some nice contrast depending on where in the DSP you cut it from. So I think it's kind of fun. Don't be afraid to die cut your DSP. A lot of us don't think to do that. We just think DSP is pretty and we have to use it for backgrounds. But you can do some really great die cuts using DSP. All right, so then we're going to add some of these elegant faceted gems to the center of each flower. So there are 2 different sizes. I'm going to use a large for the larger flower. I'm just going to center that in the middle of our flower and press it into place. And anytime you're using these little, whoopsie, little embellishments, I tell you, your take your pick is your best friend. You definitely, if you don't have one of these, it needs to go on your next order because they are so, it just makes managing all of these little fussy embellishments and little itty bitty piece of paper so much easier. Can't tell you how much it changed my life, this thing. All right, so there are our embellishments. Aren't they pretty? So pretty. And then the only stamping on this card is to stamp a sentiment. So I'm going to use some smoky slate ink, and we're going to stamp Best Wishes. Now, Best Wishes is about the most generic sentiment you could get. You could use this for any occasion, literally, except maybe a sympathy card. But honestly, like, Best Wishes could be for a birthday, could be for a wedding, could be for a shower, could be for Mother's Day, could be for Christmas, for goodness sake. There's so many possibilities for a Best Wishes sentiment. Now, the last touch before I put this on the back on the card base is to do some flicky flicky. Now, you've seen me do this with the Wink of Stella, but I wanted it to have a little bit more presence because of that ombre background. So we're actually going to do our flicky flicky with some shimmer paint. So I've got some frost white shimmer paint and an aqua painter. Now we have a new version of the aqua painter in the catalogs now. They're called water painters, same effect. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of the shimmer paint with my brush, and then I'm just going to flick. And you're going to see that it's going to leave, well, maybe you won't be able to see on the video. I'm not sure how well this shows up, but it's going to leave some spatters of that shimmer paint. And it just adds some nice texture and just a little bit more sparkle to our design. Let me hold that up so you can see it. Can you see the spatters on there? So pretty. Okay, now this does take a minute or 2 to dry. So while that's drying, we're gonna grab our card base. Our card base is thick Whisper White cardstock. People often ask me why I use thick Whisper White instead of regular Whisper White for my card bases. It's because I like to have something a little bit more solid. Our thick Whisper White is closer in weight. It's actually a little bit heavier in weight to our colored cardstock. The regular Whisper White is really intended for layering, and it doesn't create quite as sturdy a card base. So I like to use the thick Whisper White. This is 4.5 by 11 inches, and I've scored it in the middle at 5.5. So we're going to fold that in half along our score line. Oh, Debbie, the DSP is called Artistry Blooms. It's part of a suite in the annual catalog, and it is gorgeous, gorgeous paper. Like, gorgeous. I can't even tell you. Check it out. You will love it. All right, so I think that's probably pretty close to dry. Just in case, we are going to actually put our adhesive on our card base. I don't often do this. Usually when I'm applying adhesive, I'm applying it to the smaller of the 2 pieces, just to make sure that I don't have any sort of hanging off the edges. But because I've applied that shimmer paint, and I want to make sure it has time to dry, I'm going to go ahead and sort of break my own little rule here. So we're going to go ahead and glue that on. We're going to have a very narrow border all the way around. And there you go. Isn't that pretty? So, so pretty. Now I'll just show quick what I did on the inside of my sample. I stamped some of the floral images from the stamp set using ombre stamping. Now we're going to do ombre stamping on the next card, so you'll see how that works. But I wanted to kind of mimic the sort of ombre look on the front of the card with the flowers on the inside. So there you go. Card number 1 is done. So let me just clear some things away here. Clean up my mess. And we're going to move on to number 2. So number 2, so that was sort of spring, summer. So now we're moving into fall. I know it's shocking, but we're already almost to August. Makes me ill just thinking about it. But we are headed towards fall. Now, I love fall, don't get me wrong. I'm not at all looking forward to back to school this year because I don't know what it's going to look like. So it's a little nerve-wracking the closer we get to September without a plan in place. It's a little worrisome, but you know, we're just going to trust that it's all going to work out. So we're going to make this pretty fall card and think about the nice things about fall and not worry about the not so nice stuff. So we're going to start with a piece of Whisper White cardstock. It is 4 by 5 1/4. Hi Deb, glad you made it. Hi Judith. Hi Julie, thanks for sharing so much. Hi Margie, how are you? So Whisper White 4 by 5 1/4. And then I have my wreath stamp. Now this is a large stamp. It actually, you need the big block or your Stamparatus to stamp with this stamp. Okay, it will not fit on the E block, which is the next size down from this. It's actually just a little bit too wide. So you're gonna need the big boy to do that. And to create this ombre look, I use 3 colors of ink. So those 3 colors are Bumblebee, Pumpkin Pie, and Cinnamon Cider. Now, you could totally do this with other shades, like fall shades. I have done it with like Crushed Curry, Pumpkin Pie, and Cherry Cobbler. You get a more, a richer, redder look. Any combination of oranges, browns, reds will totally work for this. Okay, so we're going to start with Bumblebee. So anytime you're doing this ombre stamping, you always want to start with your lightest shade. Okay, so I'm going to ink up my wreath with that Bumblebee ink. And you'll notice when I'm using I'm inking up a large stamp like this, I'm taking my ink pad to the stamp rather than the other way around. That just, first of all, this is a heavy block, so the less I have to pick it up, the better. And secondly, it makes it possible for me to see to make sure that I've inked the entire stamp. Okay, next I'm going to come in with some Cinnamon Cider and my Sponge Dauber. So Cinnamon Cider is one of our new in colors. Gorgeous warm brown shade, and I'm going to take my dauber and I'm just going to daub some ink on around sort of the inside of my wreath, just kind of like that. Now when you're daubing, you do want to go like you want to dab it, you don't want to rub it. Okay, it's a little bit different than when you're ink blending, because you want the ink to go on as smoothly as possible. If you sort of smear it, you will see that when you stamp. Okay, I'm actually going to leave this out because we are going to do it again. And then we're going to come in with our Pumpkin Pie. Same deal. So I'm going to ink up my dauber, but this time I'm going to go around the outside. Now this isn't going to show quite as well because it is a lighter shade. The brown, the Cinnamon Cider showed up quite well when I was daubing it. You're just going to have to trust that it's there. You will see it when we stamp it. So I'm just going all the way around the outside. And then I'm going to stamp my wreath. So I'm going to start up in the upper left corner here, and you can see, you see the different colors, different shades of ink there. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp this. You want to make sure you're applying nice even pressure so you get a good image. I should really be using my Stampin' Pierce mat under this, but too late. There we go. Okay, can you see the 3 shades of ink? There's the Cinnamon Cider, the Bumblebee, and the Pumpkin Pie. So pretty. All right, now I'm going to stamp this off. I don't need to clean it, but I do want to get the majority of the ink off. And then I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to go back with my Bumblebee, ink that up, and then I'm going to come in with my Cinnamon Cider and go all the way around the inside, doing my best to get it nice and even. And then we're going to come in with the Pumpkin Pie and go around the outside. And I'm actually not going to worry about going all the way around this time because I'm not really using the entire image. So I'm not going to worry too much about getting the outside. There we go. Okay. So we're going to stamp again. Now this is the side that I inked all 3 colors. So I'm going to kind of come in this way and we're going to stamp partially on and partially off. Isn't that pretty? Oh, love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. And then one more time, we're going to do down here. So again, I'm going to stamp off that excess ink. And you totally could do that with the sunflower, Krista. You're stealing my thunder. I am going to do the sunflower. I'm going to feature the sunflower in August as we get into sunflower season. And you will see this technique again. I guarantee you. All right. So one more time, coming in with the cinnamon cider. All the way around. And then we can put this away this time. Pumpkin pie. You could do this with Cajun Craze. It would look great. The cherry cobbler looks really lovely. You get a nice orangey red. Any of those sort of rust terracotta tile would look nice. Any of those sort of fall oranges and browns and reds and yellows will look amazing with this technique. All right, so last time we're going to stamp down in this corner. And again, nice even pressure. And there we go. Isn't that pretty? Such a pretty background. I love it. Okay, we're going to set that aside so that we don't get ink everywhere. Now, you're going to notice, or maybe you didn't, on my sample, can you see the texture that I added here? So we are going to do that using the Big Shot and my go-to favorite embossing folder, Tasteful Textile. Okay, and that just adds sort of that almost fabric or canvas look to your cardstock. Okay, so I'm just going to put my stamped panel in there, and I'm using just my plain platform. I'm putting my folder on top, and then I'm using my texture or my embossing plate and rolling it through. Now this blue embossing plate is not available at the moment. It will be available when the new machine comes out. Okay. Not sure exactly when that'll be, but it will be available and you'll be able to get it if you don't currently have it. You need that plate if you are using our 3D folders in a Big Shot. Okay. All right. So we're going to pull this out and look at that gorgeous texture. It looks like it's stamped on canvas. Isn't that amazing? I just love it. Embossing for me is, it just takes everything over the top. I just love it. All right. Next, we're going to add a strip of this gorgeous new brushed metallic paper. Hi, Anne. How are you? Hi, Jill. So this is actually a scrap that I had left over from prepping for my Christmas in July virtual class that's coming up this weekend. So I had a whole bunch of these little strips, and I thought, well, let's use it because metallics look amazing for fall. So this is 1.5 by 4 inches. Okay, now that's a little, by the way, that's a sneak peek from the upcoming catalog, the August-December mini. Okay, don't tell anybody, it's a sneak peek. All right, you might actually get another couple sneak peeks today. Next week, you might get some more. So you may want to just make sure you're paying attention for the next couple of weeks because leading up to the new catalog, there's going to be lots of little sneaky peekies. All right, now you'll see that I did not do a very good job measuring my Whisper White. So we're going to hack off just that little bit of excess there. And that's where I love this trimmer. It just magically makes those little oopses disappear. All right, so now I'm going to add a little bit of braided linen trim. Now this stuff is, well, it was my go-to last year. Actually, it's been around for a couple of years. I just love it. It adds really nice, subtle texture. You can actually pull it apart to get a wider look and a sort of more loosely woven look, but I'm going to keep it tightly woven for this. I'm going to add a glue dot on either end. And we're going to lay it across, right across the middle of our metallic piece. And it's just going to go across like that. Okay. And then we're ready to glue this onto our card base. So this is a pumpkin pie card base. I got to tell you, I do not use pumpkin pie often for my card bases. Okay. I couldn't tell you the last, well, probably last Halloween is the last time I used pumpkin pie, but I love it for fall. So this is the same dimensions as the last card. So 4 1/4 by 11, scored in the middle at 5 1/2. So we're going to fold that in half along our score line and add a little bit of our magical Stampin' Seal. I have been using Stampin' Seal like a ton. I just made 80 some odd swap cards with it. And I gotta tell you, it is, well, it's like Fast Fuse Reborn. I love it. It's making me very happy. I know that's not the case for all of you, but I am in love with it. All right, so that is our card base. We're gonna set that aside for now. And we're gonna do a little bit of work on our focal image. So again, the only other bit of stamping on this card is to stamp our sentiments. So we're gonna stamp Give Thanks in Early Espresso ink. Now this little square is die cut using the Layering Squares dies. It is, how big is it? 1 3/8 inches square. Okay, so just die cut it out of Whisper White cardstock. And I'm gonna go ahead and stamp my Give Thanks just in the middle and hopefully relatively straight. Not bad. And then I have cut just with my trimmer, again, same paper that I had little scraps of, a 1.5 inch square out of that same brush metallic. And you're gonna see it's a very, very narrow little border. I just wanted a little hint of metallic. You could certainly die cut the next size up square if you wanted to, but I just cut it with my trimmer because I wanted it to be really, really, really narrow. So we're gonna go ahead and center that on there. Okay, and then here is another sneaky peeky. This is some of our new plaid, what's it called? It's new. It's a whole pack of 6x6 card of DSP that is all different plaid patterns. It is awesome. I've already gone through almost a whole pack. I used it on my swaps. And there are plaid patterns for Christmas, for fall. There are like summery patterns. There are like monochromatic patterns. It's just awesome. Love this paper. So this again is die cut using the Stitch Shapes dies. And I'm going to go ahead and pop my sentiment up just with a couple of dimensionals, maybe 3, in the middle of my square. Oh, you're getting better, Debbie. That makes me happy. Once you get the hang of it, honestly, you are going to love it. I promise. Don't give up. It really is fantastic once you get it. Okay, so there is my sentiment panel. Now, this is, you'll probably recognize, part of one of the wreaths that we used on the last card. So I had, again, just some scraps of the brushed copper metallic paper it's from the same pack as this stuff. And again, I wanted to use it up because when you have little scraps, especially with the metallic papers, they are a little bit pricier because they're specialty papers and you don't want to waste anything, right? You want to use every last scrap. So I cut just a little portion of the wreath and I'm going to use it just to add a really subtle little bit of embellishment. Okay, so I'm not using the whole wreath. I'm not even really using half a wreath. I'm kind of using maybe a third. So I just added a glue dot to one end. And then I'm going to go ahead and just sort of play with this a little bit and bend it around my square here until I get it. I kind of like that look, just like that. So I'm going to trim off this excess bit that's peeking out. So we're going to get rid of this bit here. Okay. And I'm going to add a glue dot here. And we're just going to bend that around and tack it into place. Isn't that pretty? And then we're going to do the same thing down here. Now I want to use a little bit less down here. I don't want it to be completely overpowering of my sentiment. So I'm going to get rid of this bit. And we're going to tuck that. How are we going to do that? Let's see. That's what we're going to do. We're going to tuck that just like that. So we're going to get rid of this. We're going to add a glue dot here. It's really fun to kind of play with these. It's kind of like home decor, decorating for fall, you know, well, I don't know, I decorate for fall. And I love just adding little sprigs and bits of color and twigs and all kinds of things to add texture and sort of earthy warmth to my home decor for the fall. But there we go. Isn't that pretty? So pretty. All right, now that's going to get popped up in the center of our card. Now we want to make sure that we're not sort of bumping over that trim. So we're going to make sure we put our dimensionals across the top and across the bottom. That way the trim can go through the middle and not interfere with our piece lying flat. So we're going to put this on again, just right in the middle, hopefully straight. hopefully centered just like that. Okay, and then the last little touch here, here's another sneak peek from the new catalog, are these adorable Acorn Trinkets. Now look at how cute these are. They're copper. They are quite weighty. I'm waiting for somebody to make some earrings out of them because, you know, they would make perfect earrings. They're so, so cute. All right, so these guys, we're going to add a glue dot, sort of not actually on the loop, but just sort of to the back side of it. Okay, and we're going to press it into place, sort of where our bow is going to go. It's going to look like we've tied it on, but it's not. Okay, so we're just gluing that on there. And then I've got a little bow. Again, this is pre-tied from another project. And we're going to just add that to the little loop. And there we go. Look at how sweet that is. Isn't that not just the cutest? Oh, love it. There you go. Nice fall card for you. Same awesome bundle. Okay, so there we go. Number 2, done and done. Where did I put my other ones? I don't want to lose what I'm doing here. Okay, let's get these out of the way. Clean up the mess. Minimize the disaster zone. And we're moving on to Christmas. You ready for some Christmas in July? I hope so, because next week you're going to get more. All right, so here is a pretty Christmas card. Again, there's more of that plaid paper. So remember how I said it comes in all kinds of different colors and patterns. So this is that same paper pack, but in a red, which is perfect for Christmas. So this one, again, has very little stamping. The die cuts are doing all the heavy lifting today. So I'm going to start with a Whisper White. You need Live at 5 card kits. Oh, and I don't think I could keep up. If I didn't have to work, it would be great. There are so many things I could do. Can't wait till I retire. Okay, so this is a piece of Whisper White cardstock, 5 1/4 by 4 inches, and I've embossed it using the Dainty Diamonds embossing folder. And I chose that one because it sort of mimics the pattern in the plaid. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is adhere this piece of the plaid paper. Oh, look at that on the back. Oh, so pretty. That reminds me of like a flannel shirt. Yeah. Okay. I need to stop getting distracted. So this is cut to 5 1/4 by 2 inches. And we are going to go ahead and glue that right across the middle of our embossed white piece. We're going to add a little bit of adhesive. And I'm going to eyeball this. Should be 4 squares up from the bottom because it's 4 inches minus 2 inches is an inch. Or 2 inches, right? So then we're going to trim this off again. Now, what you will find, no matter how precise you are, when you are embossing something that's really detailed, your cardstock will shrink, right? Because you're actually using some of the fiber in that cardstock, and it shrinks up a little bit when you add an embossed pattern. Okay, so there is that is really crooked. Holy cow. Let's see if we can fix that. Wowza, you guys need to tell me when I'm gluing things that crooked. Let's try that again. All right. Let's try again. There we go. That's better. Much better. Woo! That was a close one. All right. Here I have one of those beautiful wreaths, die cut from Mossy Meadow cardstock, okay? Now, I'm not sure how well you can see, but this die actually embosses on the leaves as well, so you get texture on the leaves when you cut it. It's really, really pretty. So this one, I did not add any adhesive sheet, so I'm just going to add a couple little dabs of Tombow here and there to glue down my wreath. So I'm going to do this towards the left side of my panel here. So we're going to do our Mossy Meadow first. Then I have some gold foil. If I can get this little guy out of here. There we go. Okay, so this is gold foil cardstock. Again, using the other wreath die, sort of the twig wreath. Okay, and again, I'm going to add just a few little dabs of Tombow here and there to glue this on, because I did not add adhesive sheets. So we're going to put that right over top of the Mossy Meadow layer. And we'll just give it a sec to set up. Oh, thanks, Anne. I'm glad you like that fall one. Oh, Deb, you're still having trouble with it, are you? Keep at it. It'll come. You'll get it. I promise. It's so awesome. Okay, then we have, again, that same wreath as the first one, but this time from Old Olive. So we're layering Mossy Meadow, Gold, and Old Olive, and I love how full and rich that looks. So again, we're going to add a few little dabs of Tombow here to glue this guy on. And we're going to put that right over top again. Okay, and I just love the depth and texture that layering those wreaths adds. Just put the lid on this so it doesn't dry out. Okay. All right, so there is that, done. Now we're going to play with our sentiment and build our poinsettia. So in the die set, I'll just pull it over here. This is the die. This could be just a regular flower, but it doubles as a poinsettia if you do it in red for Christmas. So I have gone ahead and die cut 2 of them, and I cut them from real red to cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead and just layer them but offset them. Okay, so I'm just going to use a glue dot. And I'm not worrying about the fact that I'm going to see the glue dot through the holes because they're going to get covered up with embellishments. So we're just going to offset that and stick them together like that. Okay, and then here I have, again, same set of dies, some little gold foil sprigs. So I'm going to add a glue dot, and I'm just going to add them behind my poinsettia here. This is the part of making Christmas cards that I love. I love adding all of these little touches that just add, I don't know, they just add magic and sparkle to Christmas cards. There's something special about making Christmas cards, which is why I tend to make them 6 months of the year. But there we go. So that's going to go on the end of our sentiment strip. Okay, speaking of sentiment, we need to stamp that. So there is a Merry Christmas sentiment that is included in the stamp set. So I'm going to ink that up, and I'm going to stamp it in the Mossy Meadow ink. And I'm going to stamp it towards, well, not towards the middle, but a little bit to the left of the middle. So we're going to stamp that right about there. Because remember, I need room for my poinsettia, right? So our poinsettia is going to go on here like that. But first, we need to notch the end. Now, there is a punch coming in the catalog. I haven't ordered it yet. You will see it in August. That will create banners for you. Okay, so if you don't have the tailored tag punch, which is what I'm going to use right now, you can get this new punch that's coming. Now, the tailored tag punch is still available. I personally like doing it this way. But the other one is pretty slick from what I gather. You will see it in action in August, I promise. Okay, so I have notched my end. So now just see how I got that sort of bend and wave in my sentiment strip. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So this is just, did I mention this is 3/4 of an inch, and I think that was like 4 inches wide. And I just trimmed a little bit off when I punched my banner end. So what I'm going to do is in the middle, I'm going to burnish one way with my bone folder, and then on the end I'm going to fold it over and burnish the other way. And you see how I get that nice little S curve there? Okay, so to glue this on now, I'm going to add just a little bit of Tombow here and here, and I'm going to stack 2 dimensionals in the middle here. So I'm going to put one on, take off my backing, and then put a second one on, and that's just going to keep that from getting crushed, so it will continue to have dimension. Okay, so I'm going to bring back my card here, and I'm going to press that into place, hopefully straight-ish. It's really hard when I'm not looking straight at it, but there we go. Okay, now we're ready to add our poinsettia, but before I do, we're going to add some gold cord. Now, I don't know if you can see it. I'll put it up here. Do you see these little fuzzy bits? This is the frayed gold cord. Okay, I love this accent, especially for Christmas cards. So I'm going to show you a way to manage it, because if you try to cut really little pieces, you're just going to have all these little threads fall apart and you're going to have a mess. So here's what you do. You take your gold cord, you lay it on a glue dot. Okay, and it's going to pick up your glue dot. Then you're going to trim off behind the glue dot. Okay, that's going to keep your pieces together and keep them from falling apart. And then you're just going to go ahead and stick that onto your project. So we're adding it to our little poinsettia. Isn't that pretty? Can you see that little bit of fuzz? Then you can always adjust, you know, trim off your length a little bit if it's too long. Okay, so same thing. I'm going to take the cord. I'm going to allow, I don't know, about 3/4 of an inch, press it onto a glue dot. trim it off behind the glue dot, pull it off, and then we're going to add one up here, and then you fray it. Isn't that cool? It's such a neat little accent and embellishment, and a great way to use this cording. There is new gold cord in the holiday catalog, or August December mini as it's now called, that doesn't fray quite as much as this stuff, so it's a little bit easier to manage for tying bows and whatnot. But this stuff, I just love adding these little accents. I just think it adds just a really nice little bit of texture without adding a full-on bow. So we'll do one more sort of back here, and again we're going to fray it. Okay, and then it's really easy to trim that down if we need to. All right, so we're going to pop this up with a single dimensional, actually I'm going to use a large one. So just going to put that right in the middle of our poinsettia, and we're going to add that to our sentiment like that. Okay, now before we put our pearls on, we're going to glue this onto our card base. So our card base is, again, thick whisper white. It is 5.5 by 8.5 inches, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. We're going to fold that in half. Thanks, Sue. That's okay, Michelle. I didn't even see the photos. That's okay. I didn't see it come through. I'm on my iPad, so it's all good. I will check them out later. All right, so we're going to add a little bit of adhesive. And we're going to pop this on to the front of our card base. Now, people ask me why I layer the same color one on top of the other. I get asked this all the time. So I layered white on white without another layer in between. That is just a matter of personal preference. I like the inside of my cards to be clean. I don't want to see embossing on the inside of my card. So you could totally emboss your card front and leave it at that and not have this extra layer. Totally fine. Okay, it's just a matter of my personal preference. I like to have it clean on the inside. Just a matter of preference. Not something that is required by any means. It's just me and my little neurotic tendencies. Okay, so I'm going to trim this just a teeny bit. I'm going to give that a little bit of a haircut and just fringe that out a bit. All right, last touch is to add some gold metallic pearls to the center of our poinsettia. So I basically am just kind of sticking these over where the holes are in the die cut. So you're going to need, I think, 6 of them to fill in each one of those holes. And again, your take your pick is your best friend here. If this pearl does not want to go on a card, it's running away from me. We're going to pop that on there. And this little guy, this one doesn't want to go either. They just want to stay with their friends on this sheet. There we go. That one's more willing. And one more. There we go. Isn't that pretty? So pretty and elegant. There's something about gold and red and green for Christmas. It's classic. Some people would say it's cliched, but I just think it is just really, really rich and elegant for the holidays. All right, let me get rid of this messy sheet of grid paper, and I'll pull back all of our projects today. So there we are. We've got spring or summer and fall and Christmas. Okay. Awesome bundle, you guys. Check it out. It is one, again, easily overlooked in the catalog because of all the amazing product suites. But it is a fantastic bundle that will take you through the whole year. Okay. Now make sure you join me on Friday. Now I apologize. Last Tuesday, I told you I'd be live last Friday with some simple stamping, totally forgetting that I had a class. So I apologize if you were looking for me last Friday night and I was nowhere to be found. I was busy stamping with my class. But this Friday, I will be here and I am going to do some simple stamping with this awesome stamp set to show you some options without the dies. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a great week. And again, I will see you on Friday evening at 7:30 for some simple stamping. Bye for now.